So I actually want to begin this video with a classic tale of the old NBA. It actually predates the NBA being called the NBA. It was called the Basketball Association of America, the BAA, and this is one of its games. The Philadelphia Warriors, who would later head out west to become the Golden State Warriors, were playing the St. Louis Bombers, and they sucked. They shot 16.4% from the field in the entire game and lost 54-67. This was the worst field goal percentage by a team in an entire game. But this seemed par for the course for Philly in this time, as they also owned the second worst, fifth worst, and 10th worst game in this stretch. The Warriors' 1946-47 season was the second worst of all time in terms of field goal percentage. They were led by the league leading scorer, forward center Joe Fulks. How do you lead the league in scoring while on the worst shooting team in history? Well, this is how. He was a guy who took the most shots. He just ended up missing a lot of them. Prime example of this is a game against the Providence Steamrollers, where he missed 42 shots in a game, which is, you guessed it, the most of all time. But it's not just this game. See all the bars in red? All these games belong to Joe Fulks. Half of the 10 games with the most missed shots in NBA history belong to him. He's alone in how bad he is, perpetually being the worst fish in the best pond. In terms of league-leading scoring seasons, Fulks put up the worst shooting percentage by miles. The only other player to make less than a third of his shots was Chicago Stags guard Max Zaslavsky. But that's a little more understandable considering he was a guard who presumably had to take shots from further distances. Here's all those league-leading seasons plotted in chronological order. And at the beginning is Joe Fulks, then Zaslavsky, then a jump to George Mikan, who shoots over 40%, then Wilt, Jordan, Shaq, Kobe, LeBron, Curry. It falls below 40 again only once. This is every player in history to be selected to an NBA All-Star game, plotted horizontally by how many times they were selected and vertically by how high their career shooting percentage is. And here we can see that Joe Fulks was the very worst. How weird is it that the Warriors, a team that currently has the greatest shooter of all time, are this historically bad at shooting? We've taken a look at the macro scale of bad shooting, now we're taking a look at the micro. Single games. Not making a shot in a single game is pitiful, especially if you're a starter just chucking them up there, as was the case with Tim Hardaway, who, in 1997, during a game against the Timberwolves, shot the ball 17 times and it did not go in once. This isn't counting free throws in which he went a perfect 2 for 2. Hey, what team was he playing on again? The Warriors won that contest in overtime, despite the performance from Hardaway. Man, it is funny how much the Warriors have been involved in a video about bad shooting. Oh yeah, the 2 spots next to Hardaway are from a guy named Howie Dalmar, twice. Can you guess which team he was on? I also wanted to find out how many games a player went without making a shot. There's no minimum number of shots taken in this chart. In fact, almost all of these guys average less than 1 shot a game, except one. Now, Mario West of the Atlanta Hawks has the longest streak of games, but none of these are impressive as Kevin Burleson, who went 18 games without making a shot, putting up 31 attempts in this span, which is more than double the amount that anyone else in this chart has ever put up. It actually gets worse for Burleson. StatHead counts this streak as 31 attempts in 18 games, when in reality, in the game before, he hit a shot before missing 2 in a row on a 1 for 6 night. He then spent the next 9 or so games quietly registering a bunch of 0 for 1 and 0 for 2 nights, before going 0 for 4 against the Cavaliers. The next 2 games he played, he didn't shoot a single field goal attempt. Then, Bobcats coach Bernie Bickerstaff decides that, you know what? We're facing the Toronto Raptors. You know what, Kevin? I know you're in the middle of a cold streak right now, but we're gonna start you. Knock him dead, buddy. He went 0 for 6 against the Raptors, and then 0 for 4 against the Bucks, then back to no field goal attempts, then 0 for 2 a couple of times, Then, after going 0 for 2 in another game against the Cavs, he ends the game with a layup that goes in. 0 for 35. This might possibly be the worst stretch of shooting in NBA history, and no one knows about it. There's no footage of these games, most likely because the NBA would get more views if they put up an hour-long video of paint drying than a Charlotte Bobcats video. But the streak is here, and as of this recording, it stands alone and has not been beaten. To give Burleson credit, he did not let that streak define him. The NBA was a very brief pit stop in his playing career, where he played for a variety of teams in both the G League, Europe, and even Egypt before retiring in 2014. After that, he became an assistant coach for multiple NBA teams, and is now on the coaching staff of the Detroit Pistons, who, as of right now, are leading in the Eastern Conference. Congrats to Kevin. It is funny to note that the Pistons are also the team that's dead last in the league for all-time field goal percentage. In fact, they're the only franchise behind the Warriors. Speaking of the Warriors, they've also gotten out of the rut. In this final chart, we see on the left teams' all-time rank for field goal percentage, and on the right, their field goal percentage in the last 10 years, with the lines representing the difference between ranks. The Pistons were historically bad at shooting and continue to be bad in the modern era. Opposite goes for the Spurs, who are number 1 all time and number 4 in the last 10 years. While there are some climbers on this list, none are as high as the Golden State Warriors, who go from 29 all the way to number 1. Thanks for watching.